Everyone has their own idea about what love is. In this section, we're going to ask the question, what is love?
That's a tough one, isn't it?
Love, I'd say that it's definitely not an emotion.
Love is basically the appreciation of a person for all their traits and their faults, you know, everything good about them and everything bad.
Love is unconditional.
Where something is felt between two people and it's not something that's one-sided.
It's a mutual respect that they have.
Love endures. I like agape love, which is described in the Bible, and that love is unconditional love. That means in spite of what the person does, you still love them.
Love is self-sacrifice.
Wanting to do anything you can for that person.
In the beginning of a relationship, it does feel effortless. And here's why. When you meet a DNA match, you begin to release these wonderful neurohormones that change you. You are physically different when you're under the influence of love.
When I met her, you know, it was like for me, it was love at first sight. You know, I knew I had to have this woman, and I told her, I'm going to marry you one day.
It's a wonderful thing. There's chemicals that are released in the brain that give you a sense of well-being. So, of course, everybody wants to be in love. Romance novels are soaring. Romance movies, teen movies are all about romance. Even if the cyberspace hero, you know, finds the bad guy, he's still got to get his girlfriend.
When you are infatuated, if we took a blood sample before you were infatuated and then while you're infatuated, your blood sample would look very different. And here's what would be different about it. When you meet a DNA match, nature says, here's a live one, you know, moving closer. In fact, one of the first signs of infatuation is interest, curiosity. This person may annoy you, but you're still thinking about her. Or you might think about what he said. Or you might, you know, protest about this person because you're curious and you're interested.
I saw this very shapely, very eloquent lady walking towards the car. When she got into the car and we began to talk, and the interest really started to grow. And we drove down to the lake, which was in Cleveland, Ohio, Lake Erie. And we just walked along. That was our date. We just walked along the lake and we talked.
And when you start to move toward this person and spend more time, then you start to get this warm, euphoric, pleasurable feeling. This is due to 3 neurohormones. One is phenylethylamine, PEA for short, dopamine, which gives us pleasure and makes us receptive to pleasure and makes us pleasure-seeking, and norepinephrine, which gives us energy. So that's why when you're around people that you love or are attracted to, you feel happier, you feel giddier, you actually feel euphoric, you have lots of energy, and what happens with this love cocktail, so to speak, it raises libido. And this is, you know, again, nature wants us to meet, mate, procreate, raise healthy offspring.
I looked and I saw this tall, dark, handsome man, and I said, wow, you know. And so we got to the beach, we got down to the lake, and we talked about so many different things. You know, we had good conversation.
Being in love, I think, is, you know, the butterflies and the, you know, all the feelings that you have associated with a relationship. I think love is actually the work that it takes to put into a relationship.
People fall in and out of love all the time. You know, sometimes I really just like him.
No matter what happens, you're always going to care for that person.
Something that you feel for somebody, either romantically, passionately, whatever, that you don't feel for anybody else.
But let me tell you what else it does. It lowers your defenses. You cannot see someone's faults. You cannot see the downside of a relationship when you're involved in this infatuation period. That's why I say you don't even know who you're in a relationship with until the infatuation period passes.
The con is that because they have brain chemicals soaring through their veins, they see this person as larger than life. It's delusional.
When you fall in love, you are in a delusional and illusional state. Okay? Illusional means you're not in touch with reality. Okay? You're way out there. And delusional means you create your own reality based upon a projection of who this person is. So of course they're going to be larger than life.
So instead of the person being hot-tempered and angry, they're passionate. And they reframe everything as wonderful, only to find out later when the chemicals wear off, he's a real mortal, and they have a lot of trouble with that.
I was a football player when Bev and I met, and her friends were always talking about this guy who's out there on the field growling and spitting and throwing dirt in other people's faces.
Like saying he's a maniac, and I'm saying, oh, he's passionate.
I'm just passionate about the game,
Yeah.
you know? And the problem is that as the relationship shifts then, you see, they go from being larger than life to somewhere in the netherworld, you know, and there's a pendulum swing there. And that's why I think you see in young relationships it is so traumatizing for them, because the essence of it is a projection of all their hopes and dreams initially. And as they get into the relationship and they realize, well, he's not quite as tall as I thought he was, then they don't come back to a midpoint. They go from one extreme to the other. And now he's the worst person that they could ever walk on the face of the earth.
That feeling, that, you know, larger than life, wonderful feeling isn't really love. It's basically, we don't use the term falling in love anymore. With young people, we use the term tripping into infatuation. Because they're not falling, they're tripping. And they are tripping. And they are infatuated. They're not in love.
So it's important to know that this is a stage, and this too shall pass, and to not make any hasty decisions while you're under the influence. Because during this period of time, you can only see the positives. You can only see the bright side, and you have all this sexual energy. But if I act on that, it may be something that I regret later on.
Tripping into infatuation, caused by a chemical-based love cocktail in the brain, involves a projection of own needs, hopes, and dreams. It lowers your defenses for nature's purpose of meet, mate, and procreate. Unwise to make important decisions in this stage.
Having sex is definitely making a major decision.
Tripping into infatuation is a temporary high, often followed by disillusionment and conflict. Real love is not just based on attraction or infatuation. Real love is a decision to be loving, not arrogant or demanding. Real love, willing to sacrifice for each other. It takes work, often doing what you don't feel like doing to show concern and kindness to each other each day. Real love cares about the well-being of the other, not just your own desires. Real love gives first.